Welcome back, everyone. Mark Boyer, Jason Jacoby, Salt and Pepper have risen from the dead. It's been quite the year, hasn't it?
Oh my, it's been a year and it's been crazy, right? And we've been through a lot of things here. Most importantly, just watching, as our family has gone this last year with Luca, right? So give a quick update on Luca. We've been dealing with leukemia here for last year. How's that going?
Yeah. So, thanks for mentioning that. We've been going through treatment for about 13 months now. Got another 3 weeks left, and then we should be free and clear of the primary treatment schedule. We'll still have at-home chemos and going in once a month for other types of treatment, but very minimal. We get back to normal life basically. So
Yeah.
that's been kind of the main and priority focus for us at this point, and thanks to you and then the rest of the team for picking up my
Yeah.
slack.
It's been a family, yeah, it's been busy. So part of the reason, like, I get people asking, like, where are you guys? How come you're not doing videos anymore? And it's been, that on top of you, your time has been much more limited as our thoughts also as grandparents, my wife and I, little Luca's he's our one of our many grandchildren that we have. So it's just been a crazy time. And then on top of that, a year ago, we've been almost just celebrating a year that we actually moved Boyer Financial from LPL to as when we became an RIA, right around the time we found out about Luca, that
Yep.
we made a big major adjustment, moving becoming our own RIA, which is so awesome. It's been great. Our growth has been phenomenal this year. We're really blessed becoming our own registered investment advisor. But with that, we moved everybody to Schwab. And that was crazy, right? It was a part of it, and I'm so thankful for our team, Carly and JD, and yeah, it's been amazing, just all the work, and even your work off behind the scenes to move us. So it's been a crazy year. We changed offices, we grew, even our office. We moved downstairs in our complex here. We love it. We hope our clients, if you haven't seen it, you need to come check it out. We got a refrigerator. We got we can eat. It's been amazing. Just really love it. So anyway, it's good to get back in line with you, Jason, and after this year, try to get started. I got some clients that some buddies, old friends, actually give me grief, like, "Hey, you're gonna do." I know what they're gonna say. You're only doing this video because the market's up and it's all good, and and so I have to take it, but it's all cool. It's all in fun, and but that's not the purpose of us. Although we are new highs, it's not. We're going to try to do this once a month, right? Going forward, we
Yep.
want to get back
Yep.
to kind of a rhythm here. So anyway, well, hi everyone. We're just glad. All that to say is we're grateful for our clients and all the people that have hung in there. We're excited to get maybe going back on our Salt and Pepper podcast here. So anyway, it's been good. It's all been good. God has been good. He's led us through all of it. And we're thankful so much again for our clients who've been patient, who've been so kind, so prayerful, helping us, praying. I was so many clients say, "Hey, I'm praying for Luca. I'm praying for Luca." And patient with our change and our move to Schwab. Schwab's
hmm
been amazing. And again, our growth has been crazy too. And on top of, with that move, it's really been helpful for our business. So anyway, thanks to all of you who've been part of that. And we're excited to be back today talking about what's up in our
Yeah.
headlines.
Yeah, and I can't agree more with everything you just said. And we're all very grateful, thankful for all the prayers and support and patience with the move. We've got some really great things coming. We just hired a new office admin, right? Katie Garrett,
Yeah.
which we'll introduce to all of you soon. And you'll talk to her on the phone, I'm sure, or see her in person when you come in. But also just technology that we've been working on, and
Yeah.
always
A lot of
learning and
changes.
growing, right? If you're not going forward, you're regressing. So always
And
trying to be good students, right? Students of the
yeah, good
game.
stewards of what the Lord's given us. So it's good. And thanks also, again, I think I might have mentioned it, but we've had a lot of growth, a lot of
Yeah.
referrals.
Yeah.
And we're being blessed just to meet new people and help them where
Yeah.
we can. And that's been really fun. So thank you to all of you who feel confident enough to throw our name out there to help your friends and family. We don't take that lightly. That's a huge compliment, and we appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get into it today. We're going to talk about the big beautiful bill. There's been a lot of commotion and people for it, people against it. A lot of fake news headlines on both sides. Again, not getting political here. Our goal is never to be political. Our goal is to look at the data, how does that data translate to how we can help our clients moving forward? That is our sole focus. So please bear with us when we talk and educate you guys through kind of what's in the bill, what that means for our clients. So let's dive right in. All right. So as all of you know, this past week, President Trump signed a sweeping and expansive spending bill into law, obviously nicknamed the One Big Beautiful Bill. It extends many of the 2017 tax cuts, lowers taxes for seniors, keeps corporate tax rates low. And while that may sound like a win for taxpayers and businesses, and it is for many, might add, the Congressional Budget Office says that this bill is projected to add $3.3 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. That's been the big thing, right? Right, Mark,
Right.
that
Yeah.
we've been talking about.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you watch, I mean, that's been the big, even, the whole bill was passed by, basically JD Vance,
Yeah.
he was the final vote, right? So it's a very, no Democrats voted for this bill. And even some key Republicans who voted against it, some of whom, ended up, they moved in and they came and it got passed. But there was, and I appreciate that there was some people out there that were actually really concerned about what we're going to talk about
Yeah.
today, the increase in the debt. I mean, they were
Yep.
really stigmatized, like, no, we got to go back, we got to go back to pre-COVID, debt limits and blah blah blah. And they were
Yeah.
really holding the line. And I think that forced some more cuts, and that was good.
Yeah.
Um, but ultimately, I think now that it's passed, we're going to try to look at the different scenarios, right, to see
Hmm.
what Trump's thinking and what the idea is there, and
Yeah.
what we need to do now as far as growing the economy.
Yeah. And you kind of prefaced it with what you said. You talked about a couple of people that maybe held their line, things that they were passionate about or firmly believed in that we needed to implement more spending cuts, which I think, even you and I agree on, and many people do. Like, we couldn't go out and spend like the government does. So how do they get to do it? This is ridiculous.
Well, because they print money, so it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're like, hey, I'm low on cash. Let me go print up some new cash, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that's the ability that the government can do. I wish I had that kind of. I wish I had that rule, but it is. I don't. So
I know,
none of us.
right?
All right.
Exactly. We're taking a look kind of behind the lens, potentially of maybe what Trump's thinking, because we had to get this bill through. Otherwise, we would have seen the biggest tax increases of all time, I believe. So first, in order to kind of preface, this whole bill, we need to understand that when the government cuts taxes without cutting an equal amount of spending, it has to borrow more money, right? We just briefly mentioned that. Now, that borrowing increases the deficit and over time the national debt. So, one way which we're going to talk about here and start things off with to offset that added debt is by growing the economy faster, right? Where the government brings in more tax revenue, even at lower rates. So, here is where it gets interesting. So, to fully cover that $3.3 trillion projected debt increase through growth alone, just through growth alone, this is not including tariff revenue or anything else, the U.S. economy would need to generate $20 trillion in additional GDP over the next 10 years. So, how
Hmm.
do we get to that number? Because the government typically collects about 17% of GDP in tax revenue. So 17% of 20 trillion equals roughly $3.4 trillion. Now, that is a tall order, but let's look at the good news, right? We've seen Trump sign deals with a lot of big tech companies. Foreign investors are pouring money into the U.S. economy. Companies like Apple, Nvidia, Taiwan Semiconductors, Oracle have announced over $2 trillion in investments. And when you factor in foreign capital, including a massive $1.4 trillion commitment from the UAE, you're looking at over $4.3 trillion in pledged capital. And that's real money, investments that can lead to job creation, to infrastructure innovation, and ultimately higher GDP, which is the goal. But that's not the whole answer. So here's the punchline. If the economy grows at modest 3% per year, I know you're going to give us a little history lesson in a second, but we could see about 1.6 trillion in additional tax revenue over the next decade. And that would still leave us short. However, we ran some numbers. So if we grew it at around 4% per year, that revenue boost nearly doubles to 3.5 trillion, just enough to wipe out the projected debt increase entirely. So In other words, if we can sustain that 4% annual GDP growth for the next decade, and all of you are thinking, you're crazy right now for even mentioning that, we could theoretically neutralize the debt impact of this bill without raising taxes or slashing spending, which is a whole another story. Again, we talked about slashing that spending. So, Mark, initial thoughts, maybe give us the history lesson, whatever this,
Yeah.
how this
Yeah.
piques your interest.
All right. So, like I said earlier, you either when you're living over your means, which we are clearly, right? You either have to go in, you either got to cut your expenses, or you have to grow your revenue,
Yeah.
or a combination of both. I mean, we're all so it's just like all of us. I mean, all of us are in the same. We all have monthly expenses and different things, and we're all dealing with a budget to hopefully, but we all we have income that comes in, and then we have expenses that go out, and if we're have more income at the end of the month, then that's a positive. If we don't, then it's a negative, and we're losing savings somewhere. So currently, obviously, we have much more going out as a country, as a
Uh-huh.
government, more going out. And to your point, so what this is going to do is it requires us to either cut spending, okay, which is what I was saying earlier. I appreciated some of the, those in our legislature that were trying to do that, and they did, But in order, again, it's politics. They had to eventually, you got to
Yeah.
give some places. So that's what happened in order to pass it. That they got one vote. It is what it is right now, and we're still learning more and more about this new bill. But you can clearly see from Trump's perspective that he's actually trying to, there's cuts in there, but also he just believes we're going to grow our way out of, we're going to grow this thing. Let's go, baby. We're going to grow. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to cut taxes and really stimulate the economy. We're going to get more industrial manufacturing, different things going, and this thing's going to grow. So the question is, you know, can we grow our way out of it? And to your point, just said, hey, look at over the next, can we grow 4% a year? Well, historically, our long-term average for GDP from 1948 until 2025, we've averaged 3.15%. Okay, so
Mhm.
that's the overall. It's a long term, right? It's almost
Yeah.
what's that? It's 70 years or so, and then we've averaged 3.15% annual GDP growth. We've had decades though of higher growth. Average growth rate in the 50s and 60s was 4%. For example, like the economy grew by 13%, almost 13.4% in 1950. Actually, Jason, that's actually 12 years before I was born. Can you believe that? That's a long time ago. Around the time I was born, it was rolling at 6.4, dude. So that when I came in, man, it was happening, and then
All because of
6.5 in
you.
the 60s. So there's been times where definitely growth has been there. It's been higher than recent. Now, currently, here in America, it's been very low. We haven't had those kind of rates, so it's hard for us to imagine that
Yeah.
type of growth. But it has been there in the past, and there's been periods of sustained growth. There have been 61 to 69, we saw an expansion of almost 53% or 5.1% per year. From
Hmm.
the mid 91 to late 2000, there was an expansion of 43%, which translates basically to 3.8% annually. So we could go into the history of all those periods of times, but it is possible that the economy can grow, 4% plus. The question will be, is it going to be able to roll and
Yeah.
get going that way, especially with all the things that are happening with interest rates and employment, different things, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of activity going on. But that is clearly what the current administration is banking on, that we'll be able to grow that longer term. Anyway, that's again, that's kind of the whole idea of what's this current administration's trying to do, and we'll don't know if it's going to be possible. We haven't even talked about tariffs yet, but as far as growth goes, yeah, I'm rooting for that. I mean, that would be phenomenal to get
Yeah.
us into that place, to lower regulation, to lower taxes, which just happened. Um, and to grow at that, I think we're all rooting for that. The question is, will it be able to happen? We'll
Yeah.
see. Time
And
will tell.
all really good points. And I think what sparked something in my mind, you were just talking about kind of like, are we going to be able to sustain that? We've had decades where we have had 4% GDP growth year over year. But uh, I was listening to the news the other day, and kind of that was one of the things we talk about: stock market highs and company innovation. AI has obviously been the play the last 2 years or so now. Big
Yeah,
AI, big tech, kind of that growth sector has really exploded. I mean, look at how much ChatGPT is actually challenging Google with a new web browser now that's going to change the
crazy.
game. And again, AI has just been integrated with everything, and it's only going to continue to do so. So, I mean, one way we could have sustainable 4% growth, especially with that 4.3 of invested capital from, foreign investors and big tech, knowing the power of AI and then the quantum computing phase that follows that natural progression cycle of that, uh, brings about innovation and productivity gains even faster, right?
Yeah.
And even
Hmm.
more so. So
Yeah. More
potentially,
efficiency.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Higher efficiency, higher output
Yep.
equals more goods, maybe even at cheaper prices, or more demand for those goods. So again, all of these things are going to come into play that we don't know yet, but I don't want people to just shut it off immediately and be like, "Oh, 4% is not attainable." Well, look what
Well,
AI.
okay. So I mean, again, but it's been since the second quarter of 2000, the GDP has not reached the 5% level. I mean,
Mm,
so we've been at below 2% since the second quarter of 2000.
wow.
That's
Yep.
25 plus years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
We have not been above, we, we have been below 2%. So that's why when Powell's on TV and everything and all the different models that they're rolling out about, should we lower rates, all this, they're working on these models that it's very,
Yeah.
they're not anticipating big growth. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the largest money managers in the world, I'm reading, they're 1.5 to 2%. I mean, they would be thrilled. So the idea of like 4%, sounds like craziness. It's like, impossible. So that's, as far as that goes, that's again, that's, not saying whether that's going to happen or not, but that's the
Right.
dynamic that's going on, right? And we
Yeah,
haven't
totally.
seen that. You've never seen that in your lifetime.
No.
That kind of growth. Well, the majority of your lifetime, I guess maybe you're a little bit older than that, but
I'm young. I'm
yeah,
young.
yeah. You know what I'm saying though? I mean, it's like
Yeah.
it's crazy that way. So that's significant, and where all the everything's based on lower growth rates. So, it's kind of on almost uncharted waters here for
It
25 years.
is.
See if it can
Yeah.
happen.
100%. I was actually
Yeah.
just thinking that we're in uncharted times. I mean, we've never been in a period. I mean, I'm sure the Industrial Revolution was like this. Things were rapidly changing, how you produce buildings and goods, and uh, it was such an explosive time for the country. But
Yeah.
now you're entering this next phase of the AI, the automation, innovation, and so we don't know exactly like where this is going to go. So it's uncharted waters in that sense too. Uh,
100%. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
let's dial in the tariff talk here real quick. So again, our projections, what we just talked about, 4% GDP growth, would wipe out that kind of deficit, that delta. Now, if we factor in, so let's back up here. So, Besant has just said that we'll bring in about $500 billion this year of tariff revenue. So, if
500 billion this year.
500 billion,
Yeah. With the current deals that are done. Is that what? Yeah, that's currently.
yes, based
Yeah.
off of how things are right now.
Yeah.
So, if that's the case here, let's take a look. So, just making sure we get the revenue right here. All right, so we would need. Oh, sorry, excuse me, 300 billion. That's why I wanted to check. 300
300
billion.
billion. All right, so
Three.
300 billion, you're saying 300 billion this year is what the deals we've made. We've got a lot of potential deals out there still,
Yes.
but currently we're locked in to get $300 billion in tariff revenue. Again, and then we haven't talked about this, so this is good stuff. I mean,
Yep.
yes, we have to grow it. Tariffs, though, are this. Uh, I mean, it is a bad word. It's almost like when I remember the first time my mom, I thought I was cool and I said a cuss word. My mom heard it and I got my mouth washed out with soap. It wasn't good. You know, I mean, it's almost like the tariff word is that. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
out there in the land, no, the tariff word is like the bad word of the current deal.
So the
What's the
10-year
number?
out,
So what's the numbers? What's the
yeah.
numbers? What are you
Yep.
thinking?
So the 10-year outlook, Congressional Budget Office projects that we'll bring in about $2.8 trillion in tariff revenue from 2026 to 2035 under the current tariffs. Yale's Budget Lab estimated
2.6
2.2.
trillion. So that's wow. So that's zero point 0.8 trillion, right? Low or less than what we need.
Yeah, and then the tax foundation models showed 3.1. So what we did is we ran numbers off of, okay, over the next decade, if we could bring in around, $3 trillion, let's use that as the watermark, we would need about $300 billion, right? To,
Yeah.
to make up. So with that being said, we can factor in
Wow.
that's minute. It's basically like zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.6 GDP growth per year you would need to average in order to offset
If if you had
the
if
deficit.
you have that trillion, if you do get the tariff revenue and it's long
Correct.
term, 10 years. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Huh.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
That's an interesting deal that nobody's talking about. But again, like I said, it's all kind of new for us as a country. It's uncharted waters. We've never been in that place, and Trump's pretty determined. It seems like to me that that's kind of he's going there. He uses the tariffs a lot for negotiating. I think that's clear. I mean, look back in April, man, when he came out with that first thing on the lawn, and he threw out the
yeah,
tariffs with the board, and the market's just like what?
yeah,
Because they were way
yeah,
higher, and then
yeah.
whatever. That was just having been in the markets a long time, you get these things surprises. But anyways, but now since then, the markets have really gotten used to Trump style, I think, kind of
Yeah.
the, hey, we're going to delay things, we're going to push it. And it seems like the market's really kind of digesting some of that now. I mean, so it's part of that. And if he's successful there, again, I haven't heard him talk a lot about that part. Maybe I've just missed it, but that is true. I mean, if we get tariff money, that could help us too.
Yeah, so tariffs, if they bring in on average 2.5 to
Yeah,
2.8 trillion
possibly
dollars,
if it worked.
you
Yeah,
know, that then we have, up to 3.3 billion, so about $500 billion, give
yeah,
or take, again, a couple hundred billion or whatever. That still cuts that 4% number exponentially in
yeah,
order to make it even profitable and actually have net positive
potentially,
flow. Yeah. Over the next
potentially.
decade. So it's interesting to think about. We wanted just to bring it to attention because the news always just says,
Yeah,
oh, we're increasing the debt, which in real terms we are, but again, because we can't forecast, oh, we're going to be at 4% for 10 years. We're going to be bringing in, $2.8 trillion or $3 trillion in additional tax revenue from tariffs. So it's all up in the air, but at least we're trying to give you the information to say, oh, take a step back and be like, okay, so it's not all doom and gloom like the media talks about. The data says we can grow. We have grown at higher GDPs, though not for a while.
it's happened. Yeah.
Totally get it. And we're kind of in an area of uncharted waters, and that's kind of our job, right? Is to wade through the noise and see how that's going to help benefit for our clients.
Yeah. I think the key thing, and that's all good. Thanks, Jason, for all this. It's good information. It really is. And again, we're just kind of throwing it out there. And it's, I think in our newsletter, it'll be some, hey, if you got comments, let us know, like, what do you
Yeah.
guys think? I mean, if you're listening to
Yep.
this, what are your take? We're just throwing out what we're hearing and what's going on. Um, it's always an exciting time, to be, invested. I think it's always a challenge. I think, you can get the markets right now are very, they're moving. I mean, we're hitting new highs, ever since kind of that announcement in April. And who knows what's going to happen? Tariff yesterday, all of a sudden something came up with Canada and the markets are down this morning. All that to say, though, is just a lot of noise. Again, I just always stress with clients is that based on the goals and objectives that you have, it's critically important to stick with a plan that you have, and to stay diversified. I give you an example. There's a lot of people like, Trump is all pro America, right? It's all this,
Yeah.
MAGA pro America, which is great. But what's interesting is to see the markets that have done the best this year.
Yeah.
international
International.
markets, right?
Yeah.
International markets, markets
Uh,
that have not done very well because, frankly, last few years there's been a lot of value in international. Plus, you get with the concern of the dollar and the U.S. debt, the
mhm.
U.S. dollar has been dropping, so that's actually a
Tailwind.
tailwind. It's a
Yep.
tailwind for international investing. So
Yep.
we've been a part of that. We position a lot of portfolios more internationally here early in the year based
Yep.
on that. That's been helpful. So, I think there's always you just got to stay in tune and adjust when you need to that game plan that you put together. And so we encourage clients to not panic, not or get too giddy. You gotta keep your extremes on both sides kind of under control and just have your game plan, review it, call us, review it with us, make sure we're still on the same page, and then we can adjust and as we go. So I know you love doing that with your clients as well, and
Yeah.
that's part of it. And it's really
All
important to remember the I just say the kind of the foundation of investing is that diversification and keep an alert of what's happening out there
It
and
really is.
adjusting.
It really is. All good points, and I really like what you said about the international piece. The currency and how that kind of factors into being tailwinds or headwinds depending on what the U.S. dollar is doing in comparison to other currencies. It's really fascinating, actually. A lot of people don't think about it. So thanks
Yeah.
for talking about that. So how does all this affect our clients? And I want to get your closing thoughts on this after, a couple things I wanted to touch on just kind of the new kind of tax rates and deductions and exemptions that are kind of in place in the bill that I think are going to benefit our clients. For example, standard deduction has gone up to 31.5 for married filing jointly. And again, these all go into play for this year. So you should see an immediate tax benefit on that side for most middle and upper, income earning families. So, we get a bonus deduction now for if you're 65 or older, you get 7,600.
Dang, I'm not there yet.
Or if you're $8,000 if you're not married or don't have a surviving spouse. So, and that's through 2028 as well. One thing that I'm thankful for that got through, and I understand there's differing opinions with this, but the state and local tax deduction, the SALT deduction,
That's huge.
quadrupled from 10,000 to 40,000 through 2029. It does revert back to 10,000 in 2030, but again, it's nice to have a little bit more reprieve for people in high tax states like New York and California and so on. And then we get an increase in the child tax credit. We get the estate and gift tax exemption actually goes up to 30 million for married filing jointly, 15 million for single. And then what's really big, so this is big for a lot of vocational workers, people that work in restaurants, hospitality, bars, valet, just people out there working hard, tax on tips, right? That was a big thing that this administration campaigned on. So you're able to deduct up to $25,000 per year from 2025 through 2028 against your earned income. So you can deduct 25,000 of your taxes. Overtime pay, you can deduct to 12.5 per taxpayer of your overtime pay. You can even deduct auto loan interest, right? It's kind of part of that Made in America policy, bringing manufacturing back. You can deduct 10,000 of annual interest on new loans from 2025 to 2028. And then this is a new thing. So this is actually going to be important for our clients. The Trump accounts. You heard about those? The Trump accounts
Yeah,
for
but
child saving.
explain them a little bit. Yeah, I think it's I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, one-time $1,000 credit to account per child born between 2025 and 2028 helps get them going and saving for their future. That's a nice little
And
plus
I
there.
understand that they can be invested in the markets.
Yeah,
It's not like a fixed rate or anything. You can actually invest it
yeah,
in
good
markets,
point.
which is
Great
just
point.
massive. That's just massive, and that should have. It's another subject, Social Security, but that's one of the one of the issues there.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that'll be big because you can start compounding growth with a child at born. Even $1,000 can really grow by the time they're
right?
be
Yeah,
significant. Yeah,
yeah,
significant money.
absolutely. And I think this one, one thing at Boyer Financial, Mark, that I think you've championed since you've started this here back in 2002, was giving, right? That's kind of a foundational part of our business. We always
Yeah,
encourage our clients to give. And there's some great ways you can do it now with the types of accounts, the donor advised funds, and so on and so forth, foundations. But what's really nice is that people, that maybe were kind of on the fence, like, oh, I might not get a deduction because I don't itemize. Is it really worth it for me? Even though we appreciate out of the goodness of our heart and our faith and what we believe, and tithing goes back biblically to the Bible. But
Sure.
you can deduct 1,000 if you're single, or $2,000 married filing jointly. That's permanent after 2025. So
Hmm.
people that might not be able to itemize, they can still deduct
Give.
one or
Yeah.
$2,000 per year if they give, which is
That's great.
fantastic. That's
That's great.
fantastic. I love
That's
that.
great. Yeah, me too. That's great. I love the fact that yeah, I mean, we've been doing a lot of charitable foundations, different things with clients too, and it's important. Look, I mean, you don't like they said before, you don't ever see there's no, we're not taking anything with us. We're not taking anything out of this place. And so to be a person of generosity and to appreciate what God's given you and give back,
Yep.
huge. And that's what to your point, that's what we are always, hopefully trying to talk to with clients, because that's a
Yeah.
big deal. And this is huge because we got a lot of, we got clients that, don't necessarily, we have a lot of clients, non-itemizers. And so this is big for them. It's great. So you're going to put all this information in a newsletter, right? Some of this,
Correct.
they'll be able to see that. And that's great. Okay.
Yep. And if
Good
you're not
stuff.
on
I
the
mean,
newsletter, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, it's good. A lot of good points in here. I could talk. There's a lot of exciting things for you. You kind of went over it quickly, but you got a little bit more of a tax credit for having kids, so that's good
Yeah.
for young family.
Yeah,
Too.
absolutely. Absolutely. And one thing I wanted to say is, if you're watching this video or listening on a podcast in your car or whatever, you can go to our website, www.boyer, BOYERFS, franksam.com, boyerfs.com. You scroll to the bottom and you can actually type in your email there, and you can actually get added to our newsletters that we send out. We do them at least monthly. If there's any big topics, we might do them more often, but it kind of gives us a good high overarching view of what's going on, what we're seeing, and then kind of forecasting going forward. But you can add yourself on there, and then you'll be on the list for future newsletters and podcasts moving forward.